Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today. I didn't want to, and I didn't think I was going to be doing more Mideast news, Syria news in part 2, but there's just a lot to cover for that area. So just to recap, we were talking about who all was fighting. We had Bahraini defense soldiers that were fighting and killed by the Syrian army. You had Qatar openly in a report funding all these different terrorists in North Africa. And it says here, Syrian forces kill American, British citizens. So now, it was the last time he wasn't killed, but he was caught. He was tried in the U.S. and his dad said he was actually passing information to the CIA. But he was a white American working alongside the rebels. Maybe he was gaining intelligence. Maybe he was helping them. Who knows? But a lot of foreigners, definitely a lot of foreigners. And then you had Russia saying Syrian militants may infiltrate Russia. They're definitely concerned about it and how it's creating instability and destabilizing the region. So it says here, UN Iraq ready to explode, over 600 killed this month. Anbar governor nearly escapes assassination. So it says here, the UN Special Representative to Iraq says that sectarian violence is ready to explode into another full-scale civil war. Systematic violence is ready to explode at any moment if Iraqi leaders do not engage immediately to pull the country out of this mayhem. But it's all just a bunch of crap, right? Because, you know, what's happened in Mali, a lot of stuff was happening in Mali was a result of what happened in Libya. What's happening in Algeria and was a result of Libya and Mali. What happened, what's going on in Baghdad now or in Iraq was a result of the U.S. invasion. So, you know, it just the beat keeps going on, man. Turkey returns fire after troops shot at from Syria. Turkish troops fired into Syria after one of its armored vehicles patrolling the border came under fire from unidentified gunmen. Troops returned fire after 3 to 5 gunmen shot between 15 to 20 rounds at the vehicle patrolling a stretch of the border in Turkey. Turkey captures al-Nusra fighters plotting major attack. Fighters in southern Syria had chemical weapons. They arrested 12 fighters from Syria's rebel group al-Nusra. But it goes on here, they had a plot in the southern city of Adana. They had a large amount of heavy weapons, and sarin nerve gas was also found. Though Turkey is openly backing Syria's rebellion, the al-Qaeda-backed Nusra fighters have been suspected in past attacks in southern Turkey with an apparent eye towards bringing Turkey more directly into the, quote, civil war, right? Chemical weapons attack in the major southern Turkish city would be a huge game-changer in Turkey. It says if it hadn't been foiled, it is entirely possible that the Erdogan government would, as it has in the past terror attacks, simply blame the Syrian military for the attack, virtually obligating a military response. Russia raps the United Nations for playing political game in Syria chemical probe. And moving down here, he says, we feel great disappointment with the political games of the UN General Secretary that it failed to respond to this demand with the possible accuracy and speed. Says they instead presented conditions including demand for expanded access to all Syrian territories, which I've covered before, that are, according to us, illogical and outside the rules of dealing. Lavrov said on Friday that political games by the UN have prevented Moscow from investigating the alleged use of toxic substances by militants in the northern city of Aleppo this past March. 2 soldiers suspected of preparing explosive. IDF soldiers constructed lab in this Serderat residential building where they prepared explosive devices sold them to criminal figures. Some of the equipment they used allegedly stolen from the IDF base, selling them to criminal figures. I wonder if some of those criminal figures are making their way over the Syrian border. Assad says facing popular pressure for attack on Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. This is what they're putting out in the mainstream media right now, that Israel is under direct attack. They are under direct threat. Right? I mean, never mind that the land belonged to Syria to begin with. This is a typical tactic. The West and Israel are losing, and so now they have to say, we're under attack. They're out to get us. They're invading. Syria wants to take over the entire world. So it says, we have informed all parties who have contacted us that we will respond to any Israeli aggression next time. They're talking about the recent airstrikes inside Syria. And Assad said in an interview you know, he was asked why didn't he do anything, because there was a lot of pressure. Why didn't he do anything? Well, he said, well, it's about there would be no strategic value or win by attacking Israel. He said that that it would be purely political. So he says here there's clear popular pressure to open up a new front of resistance in the Golan, he told the Hezbollah channel, a TV channel. There are several factors, including repeated Israeli aggression. So this is interesting because it's, you know, he also made the comment too about this armistice that was, you know, after 1967, the Six-Day War, basically saying, well, you know, if they're going to do what they're doing, then our armistice is no longer valid anymore. In other words, they were willing to just let it go for the sake of peace, but you know, right now it's been anything but peace. So there was no immediate comment on Mr. Assad's remark from Israel, which seized the Golan Heights from Syria in the 1967 Six-Day War. Lebanese Hezbollah attacks in Syria draw response. So again, inside Syria, Shiite fighting inside Syria with the Syrian army. Nigeria foils latest Hezbollah plot to attack Israelis. Authorities nab 3 Lebanese men with weapons cache. Officials say arms intended to target Israel. So I saw this article and I'm like, what? They say there's a possibility of a link between Nigerian Islamist sect Boko Haram, which Nigerian forces are battling in a major offensive in the northeast. He says an alliance between Salafist, Sunni, Muslim, Boko Haram, and Shiite Hezbollah would be unusual, and there has never previously been a link, evidence of such a link. IDF studying Syria's combat deployments. So the colonel says Israel is ready to fend off attack from Syria. Says Israel tracks every heavy missile fired in Syrian war. They're keen to study Damascus's combat doctrines, it says here, and deployments, and ready to fend off feared first attack on its turf. Yeah, that was another thing, the Israeli vehicle that was caught. I think that was a plant. It's just another way of trying to give it kind of a Syrian aggression against Israel. Also, they keep saying about how these S-300 missiles have been delivered. The thing is that that'll definitely deter them, deter these other countries from taking military action with Syria. But I guess them receiving those missiles would be crossing the red line, so maybe that's why they kept saying that that they actually had them when they didn't. Israel is said to review requirements for more U.S. weapons, re-examining its 5-year military modernization plan to make the best use of the $3.1 billion in U.S. military aid it receives each year. U.S. lists ban on gadget exports to Iran ahead of elections. The U.S. has announced it is easing sanctions on Iran, allowing exports of computers, cell phones, and software to individuals. The moves come ahead of presidential elections to be held next month. Well, why is that? Well, that's a Facebook, Twitter revolution, right? That's how they roll. It's used for intelligence, and that should show people how the government uses social networking and smartphones to track you and to use you as a tool. Muslims outside the U.S. who go online are more likely to like Western culture. Muslims outside the U.S. who use the internet are more likely to have a favorable opinion of Western popular culture than those who don't go online. It's pretty slick, you know? I mean, what the United States is doing is they're starving their people. They're at least trying to starve the Iranian people. A very heartless, cold-hearted shit that they're doing, and restricting all kinds of imports and stuff. But they're going to let cell phones and computers and crap in, right? They're very, very humanitarian, aren't they? France's Eutelsat jams Iran press TV channel. So again, France's Eutelsat has stepped up its war against free speech by jamming the broadcast of Iran's 24 English-language news channel. So it's not the first time that it's happened. And this, of course, is happening right around the debates, presidential debates. Pakistani Taliban withdrawal from peace talks over Yemen's killings. U.S. drone strike foiled peace process before it started. Of course, this was the point, because I haven't covered any drone strikes in Pakistan for a while now. Then, bam, as soon as Sharif takes over, and he says that he's going to try to start peace talks with the Taliban in Pakistan, aimed at reducing violence nationwide, boom, a drone strike comes. So the peace process appears to be gone before it even started today. dying. It says, dying as so many random Pakistani civilians have in the hail of U.S. Hellfire missiles fired from drones. Pakistan announced that following yesterday's U.S. attack, which killed the group's second-in-command, they will no longer participate in any talks. The Obama regime has historically shown a strong opposition to Pakistan making deals with its internal Taliban factions, and this isn't the first time the drone strike has come at a seemingly the worst possible time, foiling a peace process before it gets too much momentum. The incident puts Sharif in a tricky position, but may cement his campaign promise for a dramatic rethink of U.S.-Pakistani ties. Militants threaten all of West Africa, so Ghana's president has warned the Islamist militancy poses a threat that could destabilize the whole of West Africa, although Ghana had not been directly affected. He says no country was safe if insurgency was allowed to take hold elsewhere. So like I said before, you know, France was at the tip of the spear with NATO as far as destabilizing Libya. And of course that resulted in instability in Mali in that. Especially with the Tuareg rebels that were heavily armed after that by Gaddafi to help fight for him. Then they went back, and that's when this happened. So of course they have to go back, and they probably were told by other countries, you need to handle your shit, France. So he says here, he said intervention led by France has helped guarantee stability in Mali, but the conflict was not over yet. It's funny because Mali youth hold first protests against French. Right, so keep intervening, and then intervene to fix the results of the last intervention. Youth, or you could just stay the hell out. But hey, you know, that's what I was thinking today about globalization. What globalization has actually done. It's called kill cultures. Globalization kills cultures. It kills races of people. I think that's firmly what I believe. You would never think that the economy could be used to change demographics, to engineer society, but it can, and it does, and it has. You can see it with all these trade agreements and that. It says here they call them youth. I don't know if that's who that is. It really is youth because they call it terrorist youth too. City of Gao held in a sit on Thursday to protest against what they see as France's support of the Tuareg ethnic group. The first indication that the mood towards the French in Mali is changing. So yeah, I mean, recently they had Sharia law instituted. Thieves were strapped to chairs, had their hands sawed off. Scenes of horror that never previously had been witnessed. So yeah, France is backing these Tuaregs, which sounds nice and everything. Like I've mentioned before, they just want their national autonomy, which is cool. But they're going to be used like they were before. They're never going to. I don't see it getting their national autonomy, and they're going to be used by France to get the more extremist elements, more radical elements under control. It's true that France liberated us, but at the same time, we don't want to be taken advantage of. So this is you know, if you help create a problem and then you go in there and then you act like you're the hero, right? Saying, well, you know, hey, it's thanks for helping us, but now, you know, get the hell out. Let us determine our future here. Libya becomes new Mali as Islamists shift in Syria. Suicide attacks on the French-run mine and a military base in northern Niger have shown how an Islamist threat is spreading across the weak nations of the Sahara, meaning France may be tied down there for some years to come. But last time I checked, these were all sovereign countries. I mean, France doesn't, it's not neo-colonial France anymore, but somehow they are, so I guess they're somehow obligated to be there? I don't know. I think it's more just about presence, right? It's just about having a presence. You're basically occupying that area. So, you know, the instability plays into their plans of occupation or colonization. UN approves peacekeeping force for Mali. I've already covered this back April 25th. 11,000 troops, including 6,000 African soldiers, are ready in Mali to begin the mission in July if situation isn't secure. So 1,100 peacekeepers added to Abiy force. The UN Security Council yesterday voted to add more than 1,100 extra troops to the international peacekeeping force amid new tensions between the Sudan and South Sudan over territory. U.S. Army creates NATO Rapid Deployment Forces. U.S. Army has shifted its focus to the Pacific, but the service now has a plan to support its NATO allies with rapid deployment forces based in the United States if necessary. Talking about bringing the troop levels down in Europe and moving them into a NATO response force. Lastly, from March 25th, I just thought I'd throw this in there. Dagger Brigade readies for AFRICOM missions. Some 4,000 soldiers of the 2nd Brigade Combat Team 1st Infantry Division out of Kansas are training for realignment to the U.S. AFRICOM, expected later this year. So please join me in part 3. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.